Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Will's webinar, and I'm very, 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 very excited to have the one, the only Jairek Robbins over in California online with us. So, good evening, Jairek. How are you?
What's up, dude? Doing very well. Hello, people. How are you this morning, evening, afternoon? What time is it there?
Here it's 7 p.m. right now. So, yeah, 7 p.m.
How are you this evening, London and around the world?
So, yeah, all good, all good. So, we've got a relatively limited amount of time. So, first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you, Jairek, for coming online this evening and taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it is an incredibly busy schedule. You've got a massive amount that you get up to, and there's an awful amount that you do. So it's really great to be able to expose you to the guys over here in the UK and with what we're doing here with the Elite Network and make it happen. I know that all of the people that are online have got a massive interest in the personal development space and peak performance and becoming the best version of themselves, which is very much what you're focused around, really. And for those that maybe don't know you so well, you're a #1 best-selling author, you're a performance coach, you're a lifestyle entrepreneur, and you live a life of adventure, philanthropy, and entrepreneurship, which for me is basically what about living a fulfilled life is all about, right? Adventure, philanthropy, and sort of giving back and having that entrepreneurial drive as well. So how do you keep yourself busy day to day?
Sure. So for those people who don't know who I am or what I do, real quick, just to give them some insight, I've been a performance coach for the past 14 years and really applying hardcore for 17 years, everything that I share consistently. And the concept behind it, if you take a peek up here, learn it, live it, give it, there's a really simple philosophy around this, which is learn what it takes to have the life you want. And regardless of what that life is, for some people, it's making $1 billion. For other people, it's having a beautiful family. For some people, it's having an incredible relationship. But whatever that life is, learn it, figure out what has to happen to turn that life into reality. And so study, go to school, put together your personal PhD program on the topic and learn what it takes to actually get the results you want, regardless of what they are. So the second piece, which is live it. Let me see if you can look over my left shoulder, right there. I wrote a book called Live It. And the whole concept is I grew up around the personal development industry. And so often I saw so many people learning stuff and studying and researching and gathering all this, all this amazing information, like all these books right here. And they're reading and reading and reading and learning and attending seminars and getting all excited. And then you watch their life outside of that environment and they kind of just mope around and don't do anything. Like, what the hell? And they understand the concepts up here, but they're not doing anything with it. They're not applying it. Or they apply for a while, and then they get to a place where they're comfortable, and they become the king or queen of their comfort zone, and they never want to go past that. Which, if that's what makes them happy and that's where fulfillment is, awesome. But if they want more and they're just scared to go after it, that's where we kind of come in and help nudge them out of that gap and help nudge them into what's really possible in their lives. And then the final step is when you're fully living it, like you're walking, talking, eating, sleeping, breathing, the message that you live and who you are, it just ripples through your footsteps every day and in the actions you take. And people can watch what you do, not what you say. One of my favorite quotes is, your actions speak so loud, I can't hear a word coming out of your mouth. And so it's the concept of when people step into that place, all of a sudden their actions speak so loud that you don't have to listen to them. You just watch what they do and go, shit, that's pretty cool. I want a piece of that. And at that point, you get the final step, which is give it. Little. Let me see if I can, right there, give it. And that's paying forward what works. Now, not as the gold fucking pillars of life on what you need to do in order to have this great life. I don't believe in that kind of concept. I believe there's different things that work for different people. So you pay it forward as like, hey, here's what's working for me. If it works for you, use it. If it doesn't, oh well, move on to the next idea. But here's what's working, and I'm going to pay that forward to you, and hopefully it'll be something useful for your life, and you can pick out what works for you and go apply it and get some great results too. So that's what I focus on. And predominantly we work with 35 to 45-year-old male entrepreneurs who are wildly successful and who are looking for more. We work with a handful of lady entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs as well, but mostly young men. in that range, because they're usually kicking ass at life already, and we can show them how to do better and how to stay consistent.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And it's interesting because it's very easy, I think, for a lot of people to assume why you do what you do, given sort of upbringing and obviously family relationships and things. But something happened to you, didn't it, some years back when you were over in Uganda? Sure.
I don't know if you were talking about me being out of shape and unhealthy in high school, or then lots of stuff happened. And I think for everyone who's listening, lots of stuff happened in our lives, every single one of us. And we have stuff that's fun. We have stuff that's hard. We have stuff that's interesting. We have stuff that's easy. And inevitably life will keep tossing us lessons until we learn them. And so something to pay attention to is, what's the lesson that life keeps pushing in front of you? And one lesson that showed up in front of me pretty loudly was learning how to really value time and how to value life. And it shows up for all of us, whether it's, a friend passing away or a doctor's visit. Mine was a doctor's visit. I grew up in Southern California, where I'm at right now. And most people in Southern California, a little bit of the hippie vibe. And so if you get sick, you have a headache, you have a cold, any kind of illness, you heal it with green drink and meditation. It tends to fix everything. A wheatgrass shot and a nice time at the beach seems to heal everything here. And so I was in Uganda. I got malaria. I was volunteering in a rural farming village, teaching organic farming in English. And while I was there, got malaria, wasn't taking the medicine, wouldn't take the medicine. Went and argued with the doctor of how meditation and wheatgrass would save my life, even though there wasn't wheatgrass there. and going back and forth. He was trying to find a way to get me to finally do this. And he sat down. He's like, maybe you're a visual person. Let me show you. So he took some blood. He did the calculations. He put it up on the screen. And he's like, basically right now you got about 55,000 parasites per one red blood cell. Every 8 to 10 hours, they're going to double, lay eggs in all the other cells, and then, feed on water. They'll dehydrate your body. Then they'll ripple again, killing all the cells off. He's like, at this point, due to my calculations, you got about 6 days left. And I remember being like, shit. Okay. That was not part of the 20-year vision. That's not where I was supposed to head. And there's a big decision. And this is the decision all of us face every single day, which is, am I going to give up and give in and just kind of let it be? Or am I going to choose to go after what I really want? And in this case, I sat down and I asked myself in my gut, I took a little check-in moment and asked myself really simply, is it time to give up, or is it time to go kick ass and make life the way I want it to be? And so I sat there and I thought about it and I listened and I got in touch with my intuition. And deep, deep, deep down inside, if I was really honest with myself, I was like, no, I'm not ready to go. I've got more I want to do. I've got more I need to do on this planet. Like now is not the end. And so in that moment, I decided I was going to get better. And inevitably I took the medication, which helped, luckily. Worst 11 days of my life. And hopefully you never have to go through malaria, but it's bad. And the medicine, the way to heal it and get rid of it is horrific. So there's 11 days of vertigo and throwing up, and everything that went in my mouth came out immediately one way or the other. It was pretty bad. And, there's moments where you're in a hospital, you're by yourself, you're on the other side of earth, your family's not around, no one really speaks English, and you kind of contemplate, what are you here for? And in that moment, I had crossed paths with another friend of mine who he had a totally different experience, but very, similar, close to death kind of experience. And he was pouting over a girl that had broken up with him. He was in Central America. He flipped the Jeep and he was left for dead on the side of the road. What happened was some dude on a moped kind of drove by and saw him there and decided to stop and help, and drove him 4 hours on the back of a moped down a dirt road to a clinic, and it saved his life. And in his circumstance, when he was faced with possibly dying, he figured out, all of us have to answer kind of 3 questions before you die. And the 3 questions are, when life gave me the opportunity to really live, did I grab life by the horns and squeeze the life out of it? Did I take advantage of every single moment I had and really get the most out of it? Number 2, when life gave me the opportunity to love, did I pour every ounce of my mind, body, and soul into the humans around me and really give them my all? And then 3, did I live my life in a way that I will truly matter far beyond this moment when my physical body is no longer here? And so at 20 years old, lying in a hospital bed on the other side of earth, I was sitting there contemplating, if I only had 6 days left to live, how would I have to be living each of these days to know that I lived fully? I squeezed the juice out of life. I made miracles in the moments and enjoyed every frickin' one of them that I could. Did I love deeply? Did I pour my heart and soul into every opportunity, every person around me? And three, did I really matter? Did I live in a way during those days that by the way I crossed paths with people in the community, by the way I showed up, by who I was, by how, what I gave to just simple life around me, that I would be remembered for something?
Wow. And that's obviously something that you live by now, right?
Of course. I mean, you live by it too, whether you think about it or not. At the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, did you really live today? It's 7 o'clock, I think you said there. If you scan back over the last 12 hours of your day, did you really live? If life gave you the opportunity to take life by the horns and, squeeze the hell out of it and get as much juice out of life as you could, did you take the advantage? Did you take the opportunity? And you can look at that in a million ways. If you had a business decision to make, are you really living? Or are you playing safe? Are you holding back? Are you scared or letting fear run the game? Two, did you really love? I don't know if you're married or not, but if you're at home and you're sitting there and your spouse comes up and goes, hey, babe, do you play the game of just a minute, and basically tell your spouse something else is more important than you right now? So just a minute while I handle something else that's more important than you, honey. Or, do you love fully and you put that first? When someone says, hey, babe, do you go, whoa, stop everything, turn towards them and go, yeah, hun, what's going on? Do you put them first? Do you show them that nothing is more important to them? That you pour your heart and soul and spirit and every ounce of what you have into that person? And at the end of the day, all of us, 7 o'clock in the evening in your time, do you matter? Did you live your life in a way that will far outlast the ripple of your physical being on this planet today? Did you do something by the way you showed up, the way you treated people, the way you communicated, the way you acted, the way you did business, all the simple things, the way you parented, the way, you showed up in your relationship? Will you matter far beyond this moment? And an easy, simple example of that is, are you playing the game to see how many people will show up at your funeral? And one of the coolest things in the world is crossing paths with people that you might not even know. Maybe it's your coffee person at Starbucks or some shit like that. But the person, by the way you treat them, the way you communicate with them, the way you show up in their day, you make their day better. And if something happened to you, they would show up to say their condolences only because they felt like their life was better because you were around. And it might be just the way you look at them. But are you living a life in a way that you will matter far beyond this moment and far beyond this day? And if you're doing those things, you land up being pretty fulfilled.
Fantastic. So from that, on that perspective then, so on a fulfilled basis, living a fulfilled basis, we're talking there about showing up, loving, and ensuring that ultimately we're there. A lot of people, certainly the people that are tuning in tonight, are aspiring business owners. So when a lot of people think about having purpose from a business perspective, they're also talking about, and obviously from a loving perspective as well, they're talking about being able to serve other people. And what would be your advice to people that are looking to live a fulfilled life? Because what I mean by that is, a lot of people say, well, when I get to a particular destination, when I've achieved this business success, or when I've got that relationship, then I'll be fulfilled. What's your advice to people that have that sort of attitude?
Sure. So they don't know the science behind fulfillment if that's the approach they're taking. And, going back to that village in Uganda, there's a story I love to share with people just because it was pretty beautiful experiencing it in person. And I love to try to ripple the message forward. But I've been blessed. A lot of our clients make millions and millions of dollars, have very heavy net worths, and they're people we work with all the time. And some of them, not all of them, but some of them don't have a whole lot of fulfillment in their life when we first meet them. And so they're very wealthy when it comes to financials, and they have great lives and relationships and their health is great, but they just don't feel fulfilled. And when we meet them, even though they have all the stuff that people say they want, they have a great net worth, passive cash flow, multiple businesses, beautiful husband or wife, incredible children, they have the whole checklist. And for some reason, they just don't feel fulfilled. Versus when I was living in that village over in Uganda, there was this little old man, probably 60, 70 years old. And every single morning, just about 100 yards outside the door of the place I was staying in, I'd watch the sunrise every morning. And every single morning as the sun was rising, and it was beautiful. It really was. I mean, to watch the sunrise over the, reddish pink clay and the pineapple fields, like, it's a spectacular thing to see in your lifetime. And so every morning I made sure to get up to watch the sunrise, because it was just, when else in my life am I going to get to see it like that? And so every morning I'd wake up, put my alarm on, wake up, and I'd be there to watch it. And every single morning, exactly at the same time, this guy never missed. He would show up and he would go to the front doorstep of the clinic, and then he would walk down this long dirt path and he would sweep all the leaves off the path. And every single morning, this dude never missed, not a single day and not off by a minute. Like, he was there every day at sunrise. It was spectacular to see that someone that consistent. He would just sweep the leaves off the path. And about 30, 40 days into it, I got really curious because I saw how much joy was on this man's face. Now, joy is a universal language. It doesn't matter what language you speak, doesn't matter what culture you're from. When you see someone in a moment of joy, you can see it. You can see it on the way their eyes light up. You can see it the way their mouth moves, their face. Like, it's a joyful experience. And it's something that was exuding from this man every morning as he swept leaves. And so I kind of watched him and got curious. And a friend and I went to go interview him. And we asked him, why do you do what you do? And he said something, and she looked at me and said, because I'm supposed to. And I was like, no, like, why? What's the purpose, the reason? And she kind of laughed and went back to him and asked another question. And then he came back, and all of a sudden his face just lit up with joy. And he had this huge smile on his face. And he looked back and he said something, and she went, wow, that was beautiful. And I kind of grabbed her. I was like, what did he say? And she said, he said, the reason I sweep the leaves every morning is because I believe every human being, whether it's a small child or a sick or elderly person, they deserve a clear path to enter this world and to exit this world. And I was like, wow, how cool. And so this guy took a menial task, sweeping leaves. Anyone can do it. It's not that purposeful for most of us. It's just a thing that has to get done. And he took such a simple task and turned it into an extraordinary purpose-filled activity that he does every day in his life. And so what's wild is, if you look at that, he took something simple, added profound meaning to it in his head, and all of a sudden his visceral experience in his heart and soul changed dramatically each and every day. And so one thing, we actually have a brand new program. I think it's the third module that does this exact exercise. Is it helps you figure out, your 20-year vision for your life, your 10-year vision, your 5-year vision, your 1-year vision, your 6-month goals, your daily habits and rituals. And then for each of your daily habits and rituals, the stuff you need to do every single day to be your best self, it has you sit down and say, okay, let's add some purpose and meaning to this specific task to allow you to experience deep purpose and meaning every day on the little things you have to do. That way, something as simple as sweeping leaves could be something that fills your soul with joy every day, instead of just shit you have to get done because you're fucking supposed to kind of concept. And you can look at that for being a parent, going to the gym, negotiating at work, doing your taxes. Like, all these things can be purpose-filled activities, but it all starts up here. It's the concept Viktor Frankl talks about in A Man's Search for Meaning. It's logotherapy. So the ability to control the meanings you associate to things, and those meanings control how you feel about them. And so using that concept and the science behind it, you can all of a sudden take simple daily habitual tasks and turn them into things that fill your heart and soul with joy.
Seeing how it's essentially, like you say, seeing how it's having that impact for you as a result of rather than just seeing it for what it is. Like, you, for example, you're with the man sweeping the leaves, it's not just sweeping the leaves, it was something much bigger for him, having that impact. So what, obviously, sometimes in life, when we go on this journey to want to better ourselves and have that impact on us and to be able to have that impact on others, there are other people that can sometimes not be quite as aligned, let's put it that way. So whether that be a spouse, whether that be a family member that doesn't quite get what you're trying to do. So you're trying to live this fulfilled life and have this ability to live life at its fullest, But then if you have someone that's constantly around you, that's close to you, that you love, like I said, like a parent or a family member or a spouse or husband or wife, whatever it might be, and they're sort of pulling you down. What do you advise for people in that scenario? Because I know that there's certainly some people that are online that have experienced that and had that for sure.
Sure. So there's a couple reasons why this happens, and there's a couple perspectives to take that might help. One is they might be very comfortable where they're at and they don't want anything to change and they like it the way it is. Therefore, they just don't want stuff to change. In that case, you have to show them and have them experience what the difference tastes like. Because if I told you, hey, I've got this amazing home-baked specialty pie that's, is the most mouth-watering, delicious thing you'll ever have in your entire life, and you never taste it, you can believe me for so long, but then after a while, you're like, I don't know. I kind of like the stuff I have here. I don't want to change it. But then if I give you a taste of it, you're like, holy crap, that's fucking amazing. All of a sudden, you change your mind. You're open to it. You're excited about it. You're like, yeah, let's go get more of that shit. That was good. And so that concept is you have to give them a taste of it so they see what it's like. And more often than not, when people get around places where it's better than where they're at, all of a sudden they get hungry. And they get hungry because they're like, man, I want more of that. So sometimes, taking that person and inviting them to go be part of things. Now, two things will happen. One, they might get excited and hungry. Two, they also might feel insignificant around a place where it's better. If you fly economy and all of a sudden you decide to fly first class, you might look around and go, damn, these rich jerks in the beginning. But then after a while, you're like, but I kind of fucking like it up here and I want more of this. If you do a big leap and start flying private, you're like, oh crap, first class seems like, second class now. Like now you're struggling. You want the other thing. And you realize it's not about the money. It's about the experience. You're like, wow, this is freaking cool. So one thing that happens is as you evolve your experience and you can take those people and help them taste what it tastes like to experience other things, some of it they'll like, some of it they won't. Now, something I've learned is lots of people teach the lesson of, you got to be careful who you hang out with. You got to ditch the people who don't agree with you and only hang out with those who agree with you. And that's happened around the world so much that even in communities, people live in communities that all agree with each other. And the problem is it's fucking up the ability to culturally be around each other because this community believes yes, this community believes no, this community believes we should stay, this community believes we should live. And they can't even talk to each other. Meaning if someone who believes that, I forget what it's called. Is it Brexit or Brexit? Whatever the heck Brexit. That is. There you go. The people who believe that's a good thing can't have a civil fucking conversation with people who believe it's an idiotic thing right now. That's a bad point in history. That's people saying, I can only hang out with people who believe the shit I believe in. Fuck that. You need to learn how to hang out with the people who believe the fucking opposite of what you believe so you can step into their world and understand them better and they can understand you better and you guys can choose to be friends regardless if they believe in your, guru non-shit or not. And it doesn't matter. It's saying, hey, I can find something great about this person and I'm willing to stick around them because that's great. Now, what you do is play with them in life when they're at their best. Let's say you have a friend who parties like a fucking beast, but also works out like a beast. Go work out with them and don't be around them when they party, if that makes sense. And, if they talk about politics and they're a total jerk and you can't stand them, talk about love and relationships and maybe they're better. Find a topic to share with them that can bring out the best in them. And you can do this with every single human being, regardless if you hate their guts or not. You can find where you align and you can build that bridge so that you can communicate with them. I think it's dumb to pigeonhole yourself only around people who believe what you believe and act like you act because we become very narrow-minded and think everyone else is evil and doesn't get it. I like to play the game where I sit down and I'll tell you a little story where I was with a friend and we had a buddy from India who was over who's been teaching all kinds of beautiful things around the world. And we were all sitting in this room and everyone in the room was, an internet millionaire in some way, shape or form, affiliate, marketer, a teacher in some firm. If you saw the cars parked out front, it was like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and all this crap. And so we're up there sitting there and all these people are very successful and they're asking this guy questions. And it comes to one of my friends and he goes, okay, So I grew up in a shitty part of town. Most of my family, thinks it's idiotic to try for more. They think you should just settle for what you get and deal with whatever life throws at you. And they never believe you can have anything other than, whatever you have right now. They just think you're stuck the way you are and there's nothing you can do about it. And he goes, how do I convince them that this is a good idea? How do I convince them that they need to believe in personal development and they need to read books and learn stuff and apply stuff? And the little Indian guy goes, And I was like, I want to try. And he's like, yes, Jairek, you have an answer? And I was like, sure, I could try something. And he goes, okay, go ahead. And I looked over and I said, listen, obviously I grew up around this shit. I've been around it my whole life. I think it's amazing to believe in personal development. I think it's, spectacular to constantly grow yourself and read and learn and apply and expand. And you see so many, spectacular stories of individuals who've done miraculous things around the world when applying themselves fully and growing into their full potential. I said, obviously I'm a big promoter and fan of this industry as a whole, but what if, just for a second, see if you can wrap your head around this. What if you get to your very last day on earth and you die, and that little flash before your eyes when you die, you realize, oh shit, I was wrong. And you realize your whole life, you did the ass backwards way of showing up, and all the shit you believe in was actually wrong. How would you feel? And everyone in the room kind of stared at each other and they thought I went crazy. And I was like, but what if we're wrong? What if all the hype and all the stuff we believe in is literally wrong? It's literally backwards and all those other people are right. And in that moment, people started to question what was real for them. And instead of being about right or wrong, it came down to what works for you. Like I said, I don't share stuff that's the 5 fucking golden pillars of how you need to live your life. I share what works with me. I share what works with our clients. And I share what works with, as many people as we can touch each day. And if it works for you, use it. If it doesn't, toss it aside and go find something that does. And for some people, being negative works for them. It's okay. I choose not to hang out with them because it doesn't vibe with me, yet I can still appreciate them. I can still sit with them and have a decent conversation and learn from them. I'm not going to spend every day with them all the time, and I might egg them on a little and tease them, but I do spend time with them because I like to step into their world and try to understand how and why someone would come to that kind of mindset. And so my best advice is, if there's people around you who are quote unquote dragging you down, the concept of go learn about them. Dive into their world, figure out what caused them to think that way, figure out what events unfolded in their lives. Because sometimes, we're being kind of selfish looking at life our way and thinking everyone needs to believe what we believe. Nah, bullshit. People believe what they believe, and we just should understand why they believe that and what caused them. And if we can appreciate it and empathize with it and connect with them over it, then we can better understand it. If we can better understand it, yeah, maybe you can persuade them to, think and understand things you do and appreciate your stuff too. But by the way your feet move, not by the way you talk to them and tell them they should be, but by the way you act lovingly, empathetically, understandingly, maybe you'll show them a beautiful example of how they too can empathize and learn how to appreciate the way you show up instead of just constantly challenge it or beat it down. But that only happens when you walk the walk, not when you run your mouth and try to tell them how they should be.
I love that. Absolutely.
So if you want to summarize it, be the change you want to see. Lead with your heart and show up and love the hell out of them and watch what happens when you give them nothing but heart.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And yeah, I think you've summed it up very well. And I really like, Dominic said it as well, the whole what works for you concept in terms of being this guru that people think you've got this winning formula. Like you say, it's about what works for us. And the other thing that you said about is these people now that say, if people don't believe in what you believe in, then you've just got to completely get rid of them and cut them out of your life. And like you say, it's looking to appreciate people for what it is. They've got everybody. If everybody was the same, then life would be pretty boring, right?
Exactly. And that's what's happening in the world is people are only hanging around people who are like them and avoiding everyone else because it's scary or they disagree or they're negative or evil or some shit. And if you walk in there with your heart open and go get to know them and understand them better, all of a sudden you realize they're a cool fucking person who just believes different things. And if you can find out what caused them to believe that, then all of a sudden you go, wow, holy shit, I feel for that person. Because so often the reason people are acting the way they are is something happened in their life to cause them to see it that way. And if you can figure out what happened in their life to cause them to see it that way, it'll blow your mind.
Fantastic.
But that takes love, empathy, caring, understanding. It takes you to come from a deeper version of who you are and not just walk around with your chest puffed up being like, well, I'm successful and I read about growth. So therefore, if you don't read what I read, fuck you. Like, no, that doesn't represent the message at all.
Thank you. So I'm just quickly going to acknowledge the guys that have...
And P.S. If you don't like cussing, I'll apologize now. Sorry for all that.
I'm going to have to go back.
Should have said it in the beginning.
So just quickly acknowledge a couple of guys that have commented here. So Gary, Paul, Booty, Jody, Elaine, Dominic, Rebecca, Ellis. So what I want to do... If you wouldn't mind, Jairek, Ellis, who works for me, she's absolutely amazing. She operates from a massive place of love. Got rushed into hospital via ambulance yesterday. Had a surgery this morning, and still wanted to be online to be able to hear you and speak to you and hear from you. So if you wouldn't mind just saying hello to Ellis, maybe get well soon. She'll be very grateful. She'll be grateful forever. Hopefully, I'll help her journey as well in recovering.
Alex, you do not have to be grateful forever, but I hope you get better. And if you're on here, thank you for listening. I appreciate you investing a little bit of your life with us.
And then we've also got Gary, Rebecca.
Wait, was it Ellis?
It was Ellis, yeah.
Or Alex?
Ellis.
Okay, I see you in the comment there, Ellis.
And then Jim, Paul, Rebecca, Jody, Catherine saying how space age, times Stone Age, I think is when we talk about Brexit. And then a few people. So in terms of any questions, if someone does have a quick question for Jairek, we're already pushing Jairek's time. We had half an hour with him, so you got a question, pop it in the box quickly and we'll see if we can answer those questions. But if people want to find out more about you, Jairek, and they want to follow you, where can they connect with you? Where can they find you? I'm right in saying you've got your book, Live It, as well, right? If they want to look into reading and getting a hold of your book if they haven't done so already?
Sure. There's a handful of different things you can do. Go to our website, JarekRobbins.com. We have books and a brand new program that just came out on how to activate high performance with 3 partners. Wim Hof, if you haven't heard of him, he holds 23 or 26 Guinness Book World Records for performance. He's in the program, teaches how to activate super performance. We have Ben Greenfield. He was voted #1 personal trainer in the nation in 2008, and he put together a meal plan, an exercise plan of for longevity, performance, and also endurance. He's a gold medal triathlete, and he shares a specific meal plan on how to keep yourself at your best. Sean Stevenson, he has the #1 health podcast on iTunes all the time called The Model Health Show. He wrote a book, #1 bestseller called How to Sleep Smarter. So he shares tips on how to optimize your sleep, and then I share all kinds of stuff on how to add more purpose to your life. How to, purpose, meaning, happiness, goal setting, vision planning, daily actions and habits and rituals, all built into this program. If you go to, I'll type it, it's udemy.com/high performance. There might be a ridiculously good deal on that product right now that they're running. Let me double check. No, it didn't give it to me. I will grab another link for you guys. Let me grab a link really quick and I'll throw it in this comment section for you all listening, and then I'll email it over so you can send it out if you would like. I'll give you a link that'll take like 60% off the course. It's only $200 US, but it'll drop it down to like $60. And you guys are welcome to grab it if you want to check that out. So we have our book, we have the new high performance program, we have a coach training. But if you just want to connect and see stuff like this, Find me on Facebook because I try to do these each day and have little conversations about different topics. And I like communicating and chatting back and forth with y'all. So more than welcome to join me on there. I'd love to chat with you.
Fantastic. Booty just asked, what's one daily habit, great daily habit that you have personally that you apply every day to enable you to become the best version of yourself every day?
Meditation. Every single day. The benefits are ridiculous. And specifically, we use a device called Muse that tracks your, it's a medical grade EEG scan of your brainwaves, and it tracks how well you're able to stay aware of the chaos, yet focus your mind on the task at hand. And I'll show you an example real quick. So for those of you who are interested in the program, there's the link for $67. I think it'll do it in pounds for you guys, depending on where you're logged in from. But $67 instead of 200. Let me show you Muse. So this is something we do every single day. And it's a little headband, goes on your forehead. And when you meditate, let me find a not great session. It shows you your brain waves. So here was a session. The bottom's supposed to be calm. The middle is neutral. The top is active. If you look really closely, you can see my brain waves going bananas for that session. And those brain waves are like bing, 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 because I had a lot on my head. Versus, let's see, here's a session where I was able to completely calm my mind. And so I have a client of mine who used to train the snipers for the Navy SEALs, which is like the elite special forces in the services here. And what's fascinating in working with him, when he trains them on two things. One, how to be aware of all the chaos going on around them at all times. And number two, how to stay laser focused on the single task at hand. And so I was looking for our entrepreneurs that we coach, what tool could we use to help them train their brain to stay laser focused on the task at hand, yet aware of all the chaos going on in their life and business and health and relationships all day long. And so I was looking for stuff, and I finally found this one. Now, just the side effects, let me see if I can bring up my notes. The side effects of meditation are ridiculous. For those of you who don't meditate, I can understand why, because, a lot of times you sit there and you listen to something, or you sit there and try to be quiet, and inevitably you kind of ask yourself at the end, like, did it work? I don't know. Versus in this case, it gives you actual feedback and you can see it. So just a side note real quick, pulling up my notes, the benefits of meditation. So in health, it helps prevent depression, helps with overall lifestyle, improves your sleep. Well-being, it helps with mental resilience and stress reduction. Cognitive skills, helps with attention, memory, and focus. It helps with the self-regulation of emotions, help with interpersonal skills, so communication and assertiveness get better. Helps with leadership skills, decision-making, and perspective overall. And in team development, it helps with your overall awareness of other people's needs. Now, here's what's wild. The physical benefits in your brain increases gray matter density, increases cortical thickness, which both helps with connectivity and synaptic density of your brain, increases fractional anisotropy, which helps with connectivity in your brain, meaning more neurons can fire and wire together, increases hippocampal volume, increases cortical gyrification, and reduces inactivity in the amygdala to emotional stimuli, which means you can regulate your emotions better. So in looking at something like that, that's something we use daily to literally train the muscle up here to get stronger. We also do neurofeedback, which is instead of quietly meditating and clearing your mind, you actively play games with your mind. And by balancing and playing with activating certain brainwaves, you get the little character to do stuff on the screen. So we do both. And then one that I'm just starting to play with is heart rate variability training, which is just using your heart and your breath to kind of tap into your autonomic nervous system.
Wow.
So those are things I play with daily. And what we're looking at is not only what are the external things happening, but I always look at what are the chemicals kicking off in your body. Because if you want to feel happy, you can get there very easily by looking at the chemical reaction. Meaning if you can get some oxytocin to shoot off, you're going to feel the warm and fuzzy connectivity type feelings. If you can get some adrenaline to fire, you're going to feel more in control of your life. If you can get some dopamine to fire, you're going to feel good because the dopamine feels good in the body. And so if you look at these types of chemicals, I look for what activities could you do every day to purposefully cause this chemical release in your body. One scientifically proven, if you go do a random act of kindness, now it needs to be random, because if you've ever done this before, when you are thinking about it ahead of time, it doesn't give you that weird rush and that nervous feeling. That nervous feeling in the rush is the chemical release that you want. So you want to be walking, and go, ooh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go surprise that person right now. And then you want to stand up and storm across the room and go help them. And you start to feel nervous. You get the butterflies. You start to feel jittery, your breath, and you might sweat a little in your palms. All that stuff is what you're looking for, because it's causing a chemical reaction in your body to release the oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin all at the same time, which is shooting off the pleasure center of your brain and making you feel really alive in that moment. Now, as you're doing that, something magical happens. It's a gift to the world, because the person who receives the random act of kindness, because it's a shock to their nervous system, they too get the same chemical release. And what's wild is anyone who observes it also gets the same chemical kick. And so if you look at that, I like to play scientist and say, what other activities could I partake in each day that would chemically produce the cocktail I want going on in my brain and body that keeps me at my happiest, healthiest, most fulfilled version of myself, and also the strongest version of myself over time. And so I play with those things every day, knowing that certain activities, working out, meditating, random acts of kindness, all these types of things cause those chemical reactions. So I'm not just looking for like good shit to do every day. I'm looking for stuff that produces the internal and external results in my mind and body that keep me at my best.
Wow. So I think that's a pretty good answer to your question, Booty, for sure. So
no, it doesn't matter if you do it in the morning or at night. I like to do it in the morning. I just saw a question that popped up from Ellis. I like to do it in the morning and the evening if possible. I'll settle for just the morning if I can only get it, or just the evening. Doesn't really matter. The piece there is looking at it and saying, okay, just get it done every day no matter what. Also, with that little device, I sat next to a researcher from a university in Chicago who was researching kids with ADD and ADHD. And for just 3 minutes a day of practicing with the Muse, the other thing it does is as you're in the session, it gives you neurofeedback or biofeedback, meaning when you have lots of thoughts in your head, it gives you thunderstorms and lightning bolts. And then when your mind's completely clear, it gives you little tweeting birds as a reward to say you're doing it, you've cleared your mind. Here, for people who are interested in that, let's see, highperformancemuse.com. There's a link for that too. I think that's right. That should take you to the Muse device you can order. And it's really cool. So for 3 minutes a day with kids with ADHD and ADD, they're able to lessen the medication and eventually remove the medication and the kids have a better focus than before, just through building that muscle mentally by using it for just 3 minutes a day. It's pretty remarkable. And no, it doesn't matter what time they were using it.
How long do you meditate for in the morning, Jairek?
So I started off with just 3 minutes a day, getting used to it. And then I built up to 5 minutes. And that session where I was completely calm, let me bring it back up for you. I think it was 98% calm on that day. And that was 20 minutes long. So you can see at the top, it says 20M. I don't know if it'll focus, but that was 20 minutes long on that day. And so for 20 minutes, I was able to clear my mind and stay completely calm with no thoughts for 20 minutes straight.
Cool. And then one last question, and then we'll obviously shoot very quickly. So Paul's just asked, apart from the obvious, who's your biggest influence and inspiration within the self-development area and business? And that's a big assumption I think Paul's maybe making, that there's an obvious influence there. But who's your biggest influence and inspiration in the self-development arena?
I try to learn from every single person I cross paths with every day. So there's someone who's probably my most consistent influence, who would be, my mom, since she raised me, was around all the time. And then my dad, for him being around all the time as well. But those are the most consistent influences. But the biggest influence would just be every person I meet. And I'm always evaluating when I sit down with someone. I'm asking the question, where in this person's world are they a beautiful and incredible example of how to live life? And where in this person's world are they a big ass warning of how not to live life? And I'm not judging them. I'm just saying, based on my goals, what I'm going after, the things I'm learning and trying to live, do they represent their actions? Do they help me move closer or further away from those things? And if how they live would help me move closer, I'll replicate and go do it. If how they live would cause me to move further away from my goals and dreams and desires, I'll avoid doing it and be like, oh, that's a big lesson. And so I believe every person you meet is an example and a warning, and you got to figure out where are they an example and where are they a warning.
Perfect. So there you go, Paul. So Jairek, look, thank you so much for your time. I think everyone will agree that there's been so much value that you've provided with us over here in the UK. I think everybody that's online is from the UK. I haven't seen anyone that I know that's from other parts of Europe or the States, but thank you so much for taking your time and coming online and sharing your wisdom with us guys over here. And are you have you got any dates in the diary when you're speaking over here next? Do you know?
I don't have anything set up right now, but if and when I do, normally if you're on our newsletter, we'll announce it and email it out to people when we have stuff pop up, or if you're following us on Facebook or Twitter or connected with us on Instagram, we normally post about it as things are popping up. So if you're interested in doing live stuff over there, just come catch up with us on social media and you'll see when we post it.
What do you think, guys? Should we get Jairek to come over and speak at the Elite Network? I'm thinking yes. She's like, oh yes, it's just come flying up the screen in a second now. So yeah, Jairek, thank you so much. It's been really, really, really good to chat with you this evening, and thank you so much for taking the time out to share with the other guys as well. I'm really, really, truly grateful. So yeah, thank you, and thank you, and we'll hopefully speak again very soon.
Of course. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.